everyone. Welcome back to the Forward United podcast. My name is James Ellers. Today we have Jaeson Fuller. Jaeson, if you are familiar with the Southern California Yang Gang, you probably have seen Jaeson. You probably know him. So, Jaeson, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello. Okay. I'm 22. Born and raised in Los Angeles. So, like mid-city Los Angeles, kind of around near like Santa Monica, Culver City.
Nice.
Just work part-time, and I was recently in college, but I stepped away from college to be able to pursue my personal passions.
Awesome. I didn't know you were only 22. I thought you were older. Which it's not a problem. It's just you're mature.
Yes.
What were you going to school for?
Computer science.
Computer science?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Schools they need to figure out a better system for it. That's
a juicy topic.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. So over the past year, like, tell me how your political outlook has been over the last year, like if it's changed at all.
Okay, so I feel like in order to explain that, I need to explain what my political outlook was in 2016. So in 2016, I was super for Bernie Sanders. And maybe it was my youth. As I said, I was 18. Right. So like at that time, what I saw was a candidate who actually wanted to be able to make concrete change for people on the ground in the cycle that he was going to be elected. Seeing that get stomped out promptly by the DNC, like in that primary, really just kind of, an already uneasy feeling with the political arena became just quite sour.
Distrust.
There was a lot of distrust. You're just like, well, I don't know how anything is truly going to be working anymore, because I can't even trust that the party that said that they were for us actively opposed somebody who was trying to help.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So, but it was simultaneously quite, there's a certain optimism there, because I saw how many of my friends were like motivated and mobilized and there and in the moment and ready to give what they wanted, what they had to in order to be able to see it happen. Right. And so it was also like, I understood that there was a certain like a beautiful energy that happens when you are able to be honest and be upfront about what solutions you believe in and what solutions are, will actually affect the reality, not the perception of it.
Right. What actually needs to happen versus just the typical political talking points. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
So 2016, you're super for Bernie. What happened between 2016 and now?
Well, I just kind of separated from politics in general. I was going back to my regular thing that I was doing before I was even mobilized by that. So I was like still in school. I was like working part-time. Yeah. Just trying to be able to figure out what the next move for myself would be. And I felt kind of frozen, because I was like, well, I see that there's options ahead, but it feels like there's many barriers, and also quite a cloud of uncertainty over even the choices that the people who are advocating for those things, like for school and for things like that work. There's a feeling of like this may not be the best choice.
Yeah, and that's
or
completely valid. You know what I mean? Because I mean, like you said, in 2016, you completely saw the establishment just they didn't crush Bernie, but they just stole it away from him. And then
and with Tulsi, which you saw with her being the only super delegate, it was
yeah,
like that was a defining moment where you're like, yeah, there is leadership out there that knows that the crowd is not always something to be afraid of. People make smart decisions and they know what's best for them, and they understand that there is like a that there can be like a collective uh, good for people. It doesn't always have to be that money gets administered at the top
yeah.
or something like that, and then you have to prove your worth to the market and be an economic input.
Yeah, and I feel like the new generation, the upcoming generation of politicians have a little bit more of that. I mean, if you look at the Tulsis and the Yangs and and then AOC has a lot of that energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a completely different energy where it's like, hey, we want to actually get things done because things need to be done versus hey, we, the establishment just want to increase their wealth and help their friends. You know what I mean? Like it's a little
Mm-hmm.
it's just a different energy. So what got
Yeah, yeah,
you re-engaged? So you went through 2016 after that.
yeah.
You just kind of
So like, well, so I was I was very supportive of AOC, and I was very supportive of like the progressive movement because I
right,
felt I had self I had self assigned that I was like somebody that was very left,
right,
and that was like yeah, like I totally believed in the capitalist socialist dichotomy, and I
yeah,
was like, yeah, I would rather be a socialist. I would
right,
rather be like over here on
yeah,
this side, because from what I have perceived about capitalism has been essentially like you know marketplaces were also a place where people were sold. Like this is
yeah,
like that's already something that I can see that
yeah,
markets aren't necessarily kind to
right,
everybody,
yeah,
especially when when you could be like on that market, and
yeah.
that's something that has kind of like extrapolated to labor in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely there's multi dimensions of the way people look at the markets, and yeah, the way you put it right there. I mean, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
So you go from looking at a capitalist versus
Mm-hmm.
socialist kind of angles, and then how did it
Mm-hmm.
evolve from there?
Like essentially, well, my friend, one of my really good friends from college, he told me about Andrew. Essentially, kind of uh, like I'm sorry that there's honking outside.
It's all good.
Internet memes and stuff. He was like, yeah, you
Yeah,
should, because I was like, I'm tired of this part-time job that I
yeah,
have. It feels like it's soul sucking. Um, when I go in, I come out and I feel like I put time into something in order to be able to just get more time
yeah.
later. I'm not actually able to thrive.
Get ahead.
And he was like, well, he was like, you should get some Yang bucks. And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, what is that? What is that? He was like showing me, like different early memes and pictures and stuff, and I thought it was hilarious. And I had heard of universal basic income, but just in passing.
Right.
And actually, I hadn't even known that it was attached to MLK's legacy
Yeah.
until just before his campaign. It's like I just had been looking into his policies, and I listened to the Scott Santon's podcast, and it really contextualized like, wow, there's been multiple studies in different countries that were in large and small populations
Right. Yeah.
that successfully were able to not only like relieve base, poverty in the area, but also improved metrics of the wellness of human life. Like
Yeah.
that people were more hygienic, people were more organized, they felt happier about their lives, they felt like they were eating better, and they were able to get more rest, and they were able to spend more quality time with their families and the people that they cared about, and then it like all of that kind of clicked together, and I was like, well, if this is somebody who wants to run on this platform,
Yeah.
and they also have, I think at that time he had like 100 policies, so it was like and that was already mind-blowing to me, going from Bernie's campaign to his, where
Right.
like in Bernie's campaign there were very like, he's a mountain, that's Mount Bernie, just like Yang said, like he's got his philosophy and his points on where like human wellness can be fixed at, and he is going to pivot to that, and he's going to push.
Yeah.
But these are like, these are inspirational speeches.
Yeah.
These are things that, yes, we do have to focus on those, but there's actually so many there's big problems like Medicare for all, there's big problems like being able to take care of poverty, and then there's also problems like, well, how do we deal with the multiple layers of dealing with climate change? That doesn't just take just one policy and one outline like Yang gave. It also takes supporting things to alleviate the things like environmental racism. What happens if we're getting money allocated to a state like Michigan, but it's not going to every single zip code like it could be if we were just giving these people cash in hand?
Right.
Because you have to administer it,
Yeah.
Things that I think about.
No, I mean those are all like awesome points, and that's the thing. I think, politics in general, again, like the new generation of politicians is completely different than the old generation. Same thing, I think, with the policies, like you said, like the old politicians, I don't mean old politicians as in Bernie. I just mean this past generation of politicians. It's just like, hey, yeah, we will support this, this, and this. And then there's not really any follow through, and they blame the other side for it, just creating more issues. You know what I mean? So I feel like the next generation coming through is actually focused on solving problems, because we've been through it. We need solutions.
Yeah, you just get kind of tired of having to like you present something as like, hey, this should be an issue. This should be something that's like, even getting to change the Overton window, like Yang has, is so monumental already, and that's not something that's talked about a lot. But I'm glad that he finally just took the reins and was like, hey, I'm going to just become a political analyst, because he completely, the conversations now are essentially about like or at least they're especially on CNN, they're pivoting to him.
Yeah, they're way more relevant almost overnight, right? Like CNN's content wasn't talking about any of these things, not like UBI, not like just the way politics is run, with Bloomberg running around trying to stop the donors from donating and taking staff.
That was such a bombshell, and I felt like that should have gotten so much more traction.
No, exactly. And he just said it in passing, and they're like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, he was just like, oh, by the way, Michael Bloomberg told every single Democratic billionaire donor to just don't help. Just don't step in. And we're like that already should identify for people oligarchical rule
Well, and
over
that
their
goes
society.
exactly, and that's
It's not
just
a. It's not a.
the lack of reaction to that. Like the lack of reaction to that shows you how much of news in the media is really like controlled by the people that
I
is in
mean,
their
that's the
best
thing.
interest not to talk about it. Like we need more
Yeah,
decentralized news sources.
yeah, we do. We need more local media. Like, and that's the thing is that right when you say that, then you're like, wow, Andrew had a policy for that.
Yeah,
And then you
exactly.
sit there again. You sit
Yep.
there again. You're like, oh yeah, he wanted to fund local journalism because that's something that's important. Like
Right.
you need to be able to have like people who are not connected to pillars of power in your society reporting on the facts for people who want to know. Like you could like that want to know like this some have some objectivity.
Yeah.
You want objectivity sometimes. You want to be able to like say like, okay, this is definitely not affected by corporatist money
Yeah.
because the fund came directly from taxpayers, and that's like that's not a bad thing, especially if you can find very clever ways to be able to raise the revenue, which Andrew also talked about. Why
Yeah.
not have a value-added tax on things that are like luxury goods?
Yeah, exactly.
We have plenty of billionaires. They just lost $450 billion on the stock market in one day. In one day, like, like that's money that could have been for local journalism in probably every state in the country.
Well, and that's the big part of it is just waste in general. Like all this money in the markets that can either, they can disappear overnight or money that's going into Bloomberg's campaign that can have single-handedly, fix the Flint water crisis. It's just, there's so much waste in our society.
Oh my God, that was insane to me. He spent what, 50? How much did he spend on ads?
I don't even know the exact, like, it's just,
it was like
I get angry.
or something.
I get angry thinking about it. And it's insane. And that's like from the perspective of like, I'm still running for Congress. Like, we'll see what happens Tuesday, but it's the same thing because I'm trying to run a slim operation because I like to my core. You good?
Yeah. Sorry.
You're good. You're good. Cough it out. Cough it out. Like, so I can edit it out.
Yeah.
I'll start that part over. So like, again, this goes back to like me running for Congress.
Yes.
And, Tuesday we'll see what happens. But to my core, I feel like money in politics it shouldn't be there. It's a waste, which also affects my, where I will take money from. But then you have other people in my race where they're accepting money from 35 corporations and raising over $500,000. So this is what we need to move forward figuring out. Like, hey, how do we compete with things like that without, being corrupt? Because essentially it's something that needs to happen and we need to be more creative and figure that out. And that's the game plan moving forward. So a lot of people moving forward, like after Yang dropped out and after we're seeing what's going on just with everything in general, like people are finally waking up and saying, hey, it's not just a game. It's like, this is something we have to enact change. We have to make an impact and we need to stop just fucking around and having parties and like just worrying about clicks and influencers and all this bullshit.
Exactly.
And that's the point where we're finally getting to. Like a lot of people don't like the way Bernie's followers are acting right now. But when you look at it, what happened to them in 2016, they're angry about it and they got super organized, super hyper focused. And that's why he's having such an impact right now. So Yang followers, like if we don't act in a similar way, we're not going to make the same impact. If we go back to like, oh, we just want to, just have fun and, be groupies and do things like that.
And stuff like that.
And this is the thing, like, and this is still me talking censored because I'm still in a congressional race until, we'll see what happens Tuesday. But we need more people just like, hey, this is like it's not a game. Like, this is serious.
Yeah.
Like, universal
Yeah.
basic income can single-handedly like eradicate most poverty. Like, yes, Medicare for all is important. Yes, climate change is important, and we will like make progress on all those fronts. If you want something that's going to make the most change fastest, you need universal basic income. And again, I don't go ahead.
I was gonna just throw in a little story, a little tale.
Yeah.
So I remember being at that UBI rally. I remember some people said they saw me on Paget's stream from that. And we were walking around, and I remember after she kept walking, I was talking to this homeless person who we had like is just like interacting with and talking to, and kind of like explaining the idea of universal basic income, like very just breaking it down.
Yeah.
Hey, this money would be coming from corporations who did not pay their fair share in taxes in 2018. Right. Being able to get a cut of that, turn that into fluid cash to be able to just give to you in your hands, because you know how to treat your needs better than I would know how to treat your needs.
Exactly.
And the moment that like I had that very like one-to-one like personal exchange with him, and I was just like talking like he understood that what I was saying to him was like, it's just yours, and I just trust you to do with it what you need to do with it. And his reaction to that was he was very grateful to hear that message, to know that there was even something out there like that to extend such a trust to him.
Right. And that's what I mean. That's what it's really about too, empowering people, right?
Mm-hmm. That's I just, you know, it and beyond here. I'll even pull up the policies right here. Even beyond like universal basic income, 160 tailored policies to social and economic change,
right?
And with layers, and they're tethered together. They're made to be. They're not all like a hodgepodge of policies that are disconnected from each other, working on different things. They are reducing the waste, moving the resources that waste reduction has brought you, and being able to not only empower people financially through like money, but socially through being able to give them a voice in their democracy with local journalism funds and with ranked choice voting, like being able to give them let's go. I have to open up the site because I don't even remember all of them. I keep having to go back.
Well, no, and exactly, and that's one thing that we need to be more efficient about, is because like all of Andrew Zing's policies make complete sense. They all work together and solve different problems, but there is a learning curve, which causes an issue in terms of voters, because people don't pay attention. Like, people in politics is very draining. It's very
dry.
It's not it's not very hopeful. Hard. You know what I mean? It makes you pretty pessimistic. Oh, yeah. So to be able to do this, like, you need to be super interested in, and most people just aren't. So that's going to be one of the challenges. Say that again.
There's a word for it, actually, that it's a German word. Yeah, let me get my phone.
German word.
It's hold on. It's dang. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Because Weltschmerz. So Weltschmerz is specifically a feeling of like anguish or world weariness.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, when I first heard that, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's the exact feeling."
Yeah, and that's again, that's the piece where we need to figure out, because we know people are exactly like that. We know that there's a problem, and we need to break through that in a very short amount of time. Because if Yang runs 2024, if we have more people running in 2022, this is a very short amount of time that we need to build these things out for these people running on these issues, which we need more people running on these issues. And so if we expect people to run, to make an impact, to reach these people, we need to be super hyper focused. We need to be very, not aggressive, but we need to be, we do
kind of have to make at least some aggressive moves in times where that gamble is necessary.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to think of a word that's doesn't refer to like physical aggression, but we have to be aggressive.
Oh yeah, no.
That's
like
just where we need.
I think in our organizing, right? Like if we organize something like being able to like bring awareness to the simplicity of universal basic income.
Right.
What's the simplest way to convey it, and then go quite full hog on that.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of the other night. And it might work for.
I'm just gonna see, do you want to go to our neighbors?
What?
After you're done?
For what?
To give them Yang shirts for Tuesday?
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
I love you. Sorry. What was I gonna say?
You were talking.
6:45.
We were talking about being able to give.
Oh yeah. It's just like you said, we have to be hyper organized, and that's the piece that we're missing right now, is because everybody's kind of going in all different directions, because we have these different, and I think it's emerging though. I think it's better because we've had a few weeks since Yang dropped out, and people are emerging as leaders that are actually in it for the impact, for the change, for actually getting stuff done, versus the people that were in it just for the, the likes and the publicity and the clicks. You know what I mean? So I think that's emerging right now, which is really good. The other thing is too, like, we need to hold each other accountable for things like that. Like we literally lost the early states because of a lot of these things. And if we want to have it different, like, you can't do the same thing twice and expect different results. You know what I mean? Like, this is why, like, I felt like I've been just frustrated over the last week, but I think it's really just anger and, there's so many of these things that we need them right away. And we had a shot to have it right away, but we kind of fucked it up. So now moving forward, we can't tolerate the bullshit anymore. And we need to be hyper focused and moving forward. And we need to figure out, all these different systems, all these different organizations, and we need to do it in a way that's super efficient, makes a huge impact, and isn't like these organizations that are going around that are super scammy. So
yeah, we definitely don't need scams.
No, exactly. So moving forward, like, the next week will give us a lot more insight, because we'll have Super Tuesday. I've heard that Yang's announcement will be around Super Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be just after, right?
I literally think he's just going to see who comes out the front runner. Probably Bernie, if he has a place in their cabinet or VP or anything like that, and then figure out plans from there. I think that's what it'll be.
I think that. Oh, I was gonna say, I haven't actually been keeping up with polls specific to South Carolina.
South Carolina. South Carolina. I looked at the polls. So Biden's ahead. Bernie's closing the gap. But
what's the gap? What's the difference?
I don't know off the top of my head. It keeps changing. Honestly, that's another thing. I have a distrust with polls in general, so I will take them with a grain of salt.
I do also.
So I will look at it.
You have to check the methodology.
Yeah, exactly. And who's funding the poll
You
and
have
who's it
to.
coming from? You know what I mean? Like, and that's a whole nother thing. Like, we need our own
Ooh,
organization for polling.
yeah.
Like, there's all of these things we need to build out in a very short amount of time. But
See, I love you, James.
love
I
it too.
because that's the way that we need to think. No,
Well, no,
dude,
that's what
why
we
haven't we had that? Like, why
because
hasn't
we've been
that
worried
already?
about all the bullshit. That's what I'm saying. We've been worrying about, oh my God, we could trend
Yeah.
something, when in reality it doesn't really mean much.
hmm
Like
hmm hmm
it'll come in handy, but we need to do all these other things. We
Oh
need to
yeah, it
stuff.
gets attention. But the attention is for what, right? We live in an attention economy. The attention is to be able to attract funding.
Well, no,
Like, and
that's the
that's
thing.
and
Like you need, if you're looking at this from a systems perspective and an analytical perspective, like you want those things in place after you have the machine built, so that you say, okay,
exactly.
let's go trend something that'll lead the people to our funnel, so they could say, oh, this is trending, let me dig into it, and then they like learn, the
hmm
basics of the UBI. They learn about democracy dollars, and then it drips them some information about all these other policies once you have that machine built. But if you don't have that machine
Yeah.
built and you're just trending shit just for the hell of it, then you're leading people into a funnel that doesn't exist. We need to build out the funnel and then use the trending and everything to lead it into the funnel. But again, I think we're moving in that direction. Like it's been
Yeah,
very
we
slow and
are.
painful over the last few weeks.
So
But
we're young. We're a very young campaign. Like, not in age group wise. I'm saying like this is the first time that many people have even been involved politically, so they didn't even realize like that there weren't, like, they probably assumed that half of that was going to find its way to the campaign in some form.
yeah,
But
hindsight's 2020
there
though,
was,
so now we know.
yeah,
Now we know it
exactly,
works, you know what I mean?
exactly. We
Like
know.
it has to be, again, like for a lot of Yang Gang, what the Bernie bros, Bernie's followers are doing is frustrating, because they're being super aggressive and hyper focused. But again, if you're looking at what we need to do in the next few years, like we need more of that. Like obviously humanity first. Like we're not going to be assholes to people.
I
We need the
like
focus, the fire.
like I yeah, I definitely think we need to have a focus and a fire. I don't know if it needs to be like it, like there. Okay, so there definitely has to be there has to be a simplification of those, of the policies, and a connection of those to the ethos of the platform. Like
Right.
the you know how on we have there's that one image of the, like, that talks about like the different things that are involved with humanity first, grace and
Right.
forgiveness.
Yeah.
These the like those that ethos needs to be like front and center. And then like when you take that, you act upon it, and then you also have a simplified, like yes, there's many policies on his website. If we could bundle those
Right.
in like the like this one go is paired with the, like, this set of 40 policies is paired with this ethos
Yeah.
of the humanity first platform, and this 40 policies are set with this ethos in some sort of way, then you can at least present it in a message that is a lot more emotionally captivating, a lot more powerful to be able to have conversation with. And I think that's I'm explaining it, and it sounds complex, but really when you have a conversation with somebody, it's going to come off rather easy. I think that in some ways, because we just don't have maybe the
It's a structure.
I'm not sure. I
No,
don't.
no,
Yeah,
you're
it's
on
a
the right path.
structure.
that's where we're at.
Yeah.
I mean, everything you're doing, that's where we are. Like, we have these ideas, we have a direction we feel like we need to go. It's just, how do we build it out? Because you're right. When you have those one-on-one conversations with someone, it all makes sense. You know what I mean? When you can, you're one-on-one, you're talking to someone face to face, and you can transfer the emotions that you feel behind it. Yes, it makes sense. It's just like, okay, how do you do that with millions of people? Like, that's the piece where we need to keep growing. That's why, I'm trying to influence more people to, have YouTube channels, have podcasts, like, put your voice out there, because like what we're doing right now, we're having a conversation and we're able to reach a lot more people, and just,
Yes.
to interact with these people in this certain way, where, before, just face to face, like, we still need to be having those conversations. It's just really hard to do on such a large scale, especially in a day and age when people's attention spans are so short.
Yes.
So I think that's what we need to build out.
Yeah.
So
people are used to instant. People are used to like if you can make a something that like why do people like Instagram so much? Because it's a feed of pictures that take up the entire screen. It gives you space for one caption, and that people don't like, you don't think about it in that way unless you have vouchers, probably, where like you are thinking about like how these, like, the way somebody interacts with their phone is going to be able to affect the like, your emotions go off every time you are looking at these images. It does not matter whether or not you kind of try to convince yourself that they don't go off. You're either like, oh, this is really cool, or oh, yo, like, I didn't expect that, or ha 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 ha, that's really funny. And you're investing all the time, and your attention gets invested in that too. That's what I love about this campaign, is that there was all these different angles that he was coming from, because again, these were conversations that Andrew Yang was having.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't think we have a content problem. Like, there's more than enough policies and everything that we need to, like, it's subject matter problem. It's
an organization and bundling problem. Like, how do you even bring up all of these topics in one conversation with a person? And
you can't bring
yeah, exactly.
That's what we have to say right away. Like, we have to say, okay, like, first priority is putting people before corporations. Corporations were made to benefit the people, to protect people. You know what I mean? And at some point in the last 50 years, it got flipped, where now corporations are the priority, and they're getting more of the tax breaks and the revenue and things like that. So our thing is just to say, hey, what if we flipped it back to the way it was supposed to be, where these organizations and these governments and everything that we, the people, have built, actually work to benefit the people? Does that make sense? Would that, does that sound like something we should do? Yep. Okay. But how do we do that? And then you go in from there. So again, I mean, we could talk for hours on all that stuff. So it's something, again, we just need more people building relevant things, talking about it, and working on things that are going to make an impact, versus just people trying to make a buck. So that's that part. Let me so let me get back to a couple of these questions, because we digressed, it's all good. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the treatment of individuals in our society today? Be honest.
Oh man.
Just first number that goes out there.
First number that goes out there is probably like a solid 3.
Right.
Like I think that, like, we do have like ropes and safety lines that you can grab as a person who is like underprivileged, or who is like normal or in poverty in the country. There's many layers of the American perception, though.
Exactly.
That block those.
Yep.
And that make them very, very prickly for people to want to be able to actually reach out to and grab. And also how you interact with labor markets or does not afford you the time, the mental energy. And that's what's so great about living in Los Angeles. Like, you heard that horn on the camera, right? On the microphone. You cannot escape it. You cannot escape it. It's a rat race all the time. I see the 10 freeway from my window.
Really? Oh my
like
God.
That's it's like I'm just like, every night it doesn't change. There's honking horns. There's people who are upset. There's traffic because we've organized it around the dollar. You know, it's organized around humans feeling good.
No, exactly. Yeah, like fulfilled. You know what I mean? Like exactly what you said. Like that's something we. They asked me that question on TYT. They were just like, "There's something on your website that says we should be moving to a 4-hour work week," and that's just one of many things that it's like, hey, Microsoft tested it in Japan where they moved to a 4-hour work week, and the location was actually more productive with people working less hours. Like if you were going to be able to work 3 or 4 day work week, and you were going to be able to make the same amount of money, like you'd be way more productive in the time that you're there.
Yes, and I think earlier you said a 4-hour work week.
I mean 4 days. Sorry, one of my favorite books is 4-hour work week. So 4-day work week. You're exactly right. So if you haven't read 4-hour work week, look it up.
Oh, I'll make a note of that.
It's amazing. Actually, on that topic, 4-hour work week is all about using like automation and all these other tools so that you have the same or higher production without the same amount of input.
I needed that book. Okay, hold on. 4-hour
work week by Tim Ferriss. He also has a podcast. It's awesome. But yeah,
Ferriss,
see any
FARRISS,
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I do that all the time. But that's the thing, like with modern technology, with advances in technology, with advances in being able to create more and less, why wouldn't we create a society where people spent more time with their families, spent more time doing what they loved, where people are born into a society that runs on money, not by choice, but hey, you're put in this world that is run by money. Like we are going to give you a baseline and a foundation to start off at because you're a person, you deserve that.
We trust you to access a market. We trust you to be able to, like, we have an open door to the market because we want you to be here. Like we want, that's kind of the crux or the thing there is like the way that I see it. Scott Santon's broke it down super awesome. It was and I've adapted sort of my own interpretation where imagine a if you I was gonna parallel it to a video game, but I feel like that might not.
Do the video game. Always do the video game.
So so if you can imagine, right, just like the setting of Assassin's Creed, how there was like those certain marketplaces that you would just have to walk into, and there would be crowded marketplaces and stuff. Sometimes you have an open marketplace where you're able to just walk in there and you, like, let's say you're able to access it and you're able to like buy things or trade things or whatever. Or let's imagine that there's a gate there. You now cannot. You can maybe try to climb over and get inside, but really it's locked and it's barred from you. That's kind of how it is to be able to like go from being in poverty to like being able to access markets. Like you can either find a way to get the key, do the hard part, or you could try to climb over in some form or fashion, working 2 or 3 jobs and like different gigs and stuff like that to string together money to access
just
the
to
market.
get into the market. That's
to get into the market.
That's where the disconnect is, because the people that the people in power, they think, oh, I did it, so anybody, there's the resources there.
Yeah.
Fucking Bloomberg, like, oh yeah, like I worked really hard for my $60 billion. You know what I mean?
Didn't you say like if I was black,
it would have been
like,
harder, but I would have still done it. Something like that.
It would have been harder, but I would have still done it.
Yeah,
really?
like it's
50 billion?
Yeah, it's all bullshit, man. But that's the thing. Their mentality is the people. It's all bullshit. The people that have most say, like the most say in our government, in our economies, are the people that have this skewed view on what the economy is, when we're saying like, hey, we have to do all this just to get access to the market, like you said. Like, it's not to own a piece of the market. It's not to own the whole thing. It's just to get access to the market and be able to participate.
Yeah, and what okay, so, and also if you're in poverty, or you're you're a historically disadvantaged person, a black person, brown person, the most of the time your like your dream might even just be to like be able to get in the market and then be able to have like a place in that market, like having a business or something like that. And then you're like, yes, like I did it. I have like a business, I have a thing. And then as Andrew talks about, this opens up a whole other box of issues. Now you have to be able to like have the capacity to be able to like run that business, give people healthcare, give people the pay that they need. You have to be able to like organize and administrate those things. I'm sure that like that's what's so great now, is that technology is now able to step in and be able to help people with business administration.
Yeah. And that's the frustration, I feel like, is between people that support UBI and people who don't, specifically like Yang Gang and Bernie Bros, is the frustration that we're both kind of pretty much trying to solve the same things.
We're right next to each other. Straight up, we're right next to each other. Like I have actually no problem with not at all with Bernie Sanders, his campaign, anything. Like it's just that we're seeing the same problem, and we're having different perspectives on which roads to take
to the destination,
get us there.
Yep.
And
that's a perfect.
I feel like. And I feel like there's like, okay, you look at the federal jobs guarantee versus the universal basic income, which is like a hallmark one to put up against each other. But like so right. We have to ask baseline questions about the federal jobs guarantee. What would be the purpose of the federal jobs guarantee? It's to be able to employ people.
It depends.
If you can put it in the simplest terms, we're getting at the right place. Yes. I agree with you. We're getting at the right place. We're getting at the same place. You're like, if you put it in the simplest terms, why do you give somebody a job?
So they could make money.
So they can make money. I'm
answering it from the point of a UBI supporter, though. My answer. So what answer are you looking? Because I'm going to answer it like, hey, so they could have an income.
So they can have an income. Exactly. I'm saying that there's just this weird like gray layer there where people are want to be in the administrator level.
Right.
Like there's people like they want to be able to be the one to be like, okay, now I've considered you worthy of this cash.
Right.
So here you go, because you did this job.
Right.
But why did you even employ me if the purpose is to give me the cash, we didn't need to have this administrative point.
Well, yeah,
It's a moralistic point.
and the big point with federal jobs guarantee is that it would just be making up random ass jobs for the sake of saying that, hey, we gave you a job to give this money. It's not, because a huge issue today is people spending so much time and energy on jobs that are unfulfilling. You spend so much time away from your family. Like, why are we going to provide universal childcare to people that have to go work for a government in a federal jobs guarantee? So we're spending money on all this extra stuff when we could literally just have a very simple universal basic income. Then we don't have to pay for the universal childcare, and we don't have to pay for the whole administration, like you said, of trying to put together a federal jobs guarantee. You know what I mean? For jobs that are not needed. If there were a shit ton of jobs that are needed, then fine. But right now, automation could do most of those things. So it's just, and that is really the only point where I feel the Yang Gang and Bernie Bros are. There's a gap there, and it's I understand it, because you were a Bernie supporter in 2016. I liked Bernie in 2016, so you know what happened to him in 2016, and then you see where they're trying to go now. So I understand them not being super flexible.
Yeah, I saw what the establishment tried to
they're still doing.
I personally feel like I'm like, man, his campaign is like zombie like. I look at it and I'm just like, we don't see that he had to campaign with Hillary Clinton a whole year or a whole 8 months or something like that before the general election. And wasn't there I don't know. I can't say I know everything about the Bernie Sanders campaign.
Yeah,
I cannot claim that. But I'm just like, man, sometimes he is still anti-establishment in certain policies, but you can see that he has accepted that there is some sort of innate power structure that he has to set up,
right?
Where yes, people do have to administer a job to you in order for you to be able to have income, because we cannot trust you to be responsible enough with the cash without proof of competence,
right?
But then, okay, so I'm proving my competence as what? Yeah, I'm the official door sweep of the United States of America.
Well, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Trash paper up around the freeway.
Okay. I've proven my competence in that area. Now, do I get to go and live and breathe freely?
Thank you. Exactly, and that's the thing. It's not that UBI is super doable. That's the thing. You look at all these other programs, and it's really affordable. So that's one thing I think we'll all get on the same page at. But again, the big thing is there's a learning curve, and if we don't have the funnel set up to be able to capture and educate these people, then why are we surprised that these things failed in the first place? You know what I mean? There's so many things we need to build before we can, go on from there. So we need to focus on building organizations, making an impact versus just, trending. You know what I mean? Not getting or just getting lights, or.
Yeah, but building organizations, especially around think tanks and education, and being able to actually just break down. Okay, what are the visual impacts that this policy would have over timed increments, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? Very simple. If we could get it in a photo gallery, hey, this is what it would look like in your community over a time lapse of a year or 2 years. Like if you could do it an infographic, I refer to CGP Gray's YouTube a lot. I'm not sure if you know who CGP Gray is.
I don't. That's interesting.
You don't?
No, I don't. Tell me more. Tell me more.
Okay. Yeah. He's like he does a lot of infographics for like political, like social science things. So I'm gonna pull up the video really quick. He was actually that was actually the first time I heard about ranked choice voting was from his YouTube channel.
Yeah, see, that's a whole other policy we haven't even gotten to talk about just because we've been talking about all the other policies. Like there's so many good ones.
2017. That was that first year that I had heard about it, and I think it would be really awesome for us to be able to be able to. So say for example, there was that Fat Boy SSE video where they were walking around New York and they were giving people cash. Like that's something where that's direct impact, and then that's lasting too.
Yeah.
Like everybody who knows this person knows that they just got $1,000 in cash out of nowhere. And what could we do? Like what? I mean, if we were able to like organize like a
well, that's the thing. The actual ideas, like we just need right now. We need people to know that we need to work on these, and it's going to take a little bit just to get everything organized, and then just go from there. So, like, there's definite things we need to do, and we'll get them done. So, is there anything that you're building?
I'm going off track.
No, you're good. So, is there anything you're building or you want to build?
I want to be able to. I want to be able to build some momentum around ranked choice voting. I do get quite excited about that because I feel like that's something where when people realize that how simple it actually it is, and how freeing it feels to not have to not feel like you have to you're able to actually rank them 1 through 3, and then they get proportional representation in Congress, and for presidential campaigns, the electorate gets split just like that. There goes the college votes right there. Like you don't even really have to worry about getting rid of the electoral college. You just change the functions of it so that now we're giving it proportionally to whoever. You count up all the ones, all the these people all got number 1 ranked, all these people got number 2, all these people got number 3, and then they get a proportion of the electoral college votes.
Yeah, I'm gonna let the.
And I think that could.
It's all good.
Yeah. Living in a society. Yeah, a lot of people get pulled over right in the.
It's the end of the month too, so cops are trying to hit their quotas.
That's true. Yeah, they are. They're trying to hit their quotas right now. Yeah.
All right. But yeah, ranked choice voting is like a very impactful policy that would turn a lot of the political BS on its head. But again, when you look at things like that, that would disrupt the establishment in such a huge way. You have to expect a proportionate response from them against it. Right? Like to all of us on the ground level, hell yeah, it sounds good. That democracy dollars, like just get all these people out of office. But you have to understand that all these, people in establishments are going to try to hold on to their power as much as possible. So that has to be taken into account when we're talking about organizing and building things out and building plans out. So
yeah, and
But yeah.
I'm not going to. I'm gonna admit that I felt quite a bit of disillusionment because it's just been this whole campaign has been just one of like the most tiring year probably.
Yeah, me too. I agree. But
because you just saw it from all the like. I mean, I would love to build out a media platform of some sort. I think
you
that
should
at
do that
this
too.
point, I think that at this point, organizing it all into videos and trying to break it down in the most simplistic way would like how each of these policies can interact with each other and trying to at least get them bundled and organized into some visualization, or at least like in some sort of like whiteboard drawing, sort of like speed thing would be like, hey, at least you're giving people something to see and be able to understand it better. But sometimes it's just it does feel really tough because there was quite a proportionate response from.
Yep, and that's what we have to take into account, because we can't just be like, oh, we'll educate people and the establishment will go away quietly. It's like, no, we need to take that into account when making all these plans. So I think we're moving in the right direction. We're making progress. It's again, we have to be a little more focused and a little more aggressive and cut out the fluff. So we'll get there. How can our audience follow and support you?
Oh, you can follow me on Twitter. So, yes. Yeah. Oh, I love the banner. Awesome. Yeah. So, Freddy versus Jaeson.
For the audio.
On Twitter. Yeah, for the audio.
Freddy VS _ Jaeson JESON on Twitter. Anywhere else?
JAESON on Twitter. And then also on Instagram. You can follow me if you want to, but I'm actually probably going to be. I had started a podcast, but you know what? I think that I'm probably going to be honestly taking some time away from social media and things, because I feel like I should educate myself a little bit more on all these topics in order to be able to deliver like higher quality content later on, if that was part of the organizing process,
Yeah, the other part of that too is because it's very easy to get caught up in that and then not do it. So I would recommend, and I'm challenging you to maybe say, hey, I want to do this episode about ranked choice voting. And then leading up to the episode, then you do the research on it. Then you record the episode based on your research, and then you move on to the next thing, and then the next thing. Versus like, hey, I'm going to take a step back. I'm just saying that because I've done similar things in the past, where it's just like, hey, I need to go do this. I'll be back someday, and then it's just really easy not to come back. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because how easy for people. Because I do the same. I've done the same thing. It's like, all right, we're between political cycles. I can just go worry about other stuff, and then the next one comes around. You're like, shit, I wanted to make a little bit more of an impact, and then it doesn't. So my challenge to you is to stay engaged, maybe focus on each topic of the podcast leading up to it, record it, and then move on to the next one. Because if you drop off, then I'll be on you about that. All right.
Yeah, you will be, because I'm always on Twitter. We always in group chats.
Yeah. I know where to find you. All right, you ready for the lightning round?
Yes.
All right. They don't have to be super quick. Just first thing that pops in your head. Not too many. Not too difficult. All right. First question: what's your favorite ice cream?
Oh man, cookies and cream.
Yeah.
Cookies and cream ice cream is delicious.
Hell yeah.
I've actually had mango ice cream too.
Really?
so delicious. Yeah.
You're gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next one. Name someone you consider a role model.
Jaron Lanier.
Tell me more about them. Who's that?
Jaron Lanier is a technologist who doesn't have Facebook, he doesn't have a Twitter, he doesn't have an Instagram, he doesn't
Good for him.
have any of those social media accounts, and like he is the kind of like the grandfather of virtual reality. He created virtual VR in like the late 80s.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'll have to look them up.
No, check out his videos. He's awesome.
No, I will for sure. That's awesome. Would you rather have more time or more money?
Right now, I've had a lot of time, so I would like some more money right now.
Good. That's fair. That's fair.
Have to access the market somehow, maybe.
No, exactly. UBI.
Yeah.
What is a book that you would recommend to people?
Besides the War on Normal People.
Well, I mean, you could recommend that one.
Yeah, I recommend the War on Normal People. I saw it behind you, kind of on the desk right there.
Oh yeah, I got it in Vegas. This is one I got after the Bet on Yang rally when we were at the Bellagio.
Ooh. Did you get to sign it?
I did not. I had to that was another one of those times where I drove up to Vegas and drove back the same day, and that at the Bellagio they made him go like almost last, so I had to get back.
Oh wow,
unfortunately.
But also second book. You Are Not a Gadget.
Really?
You Are Not a Gadget. It's by Jaron Lanier. Yeah.
Oh, awesome! I will have to look that one up. And who is someone you would nominate to come on the podcast?
Ooh, I would nominate. Do you know Bree on Twitter?
Yes. Yeah.
Bree,
that's a good one.
It would be awesome if you interviewed. If she was open to doing an interview, I think that she would be able to give a good perspective.
I think we could get her to do it.
Either her or Chef Yang. She's also really awesome.
Oh, that's true.
Today's her birthday. Happy birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this won't be posted today, so happy birthday a couple days ago. We will get there. Belated. Yes. Exactly. Well, awesome, Jaeson. Well, I'm glad we had you on. We
thank you.
Got in some good conversation, man. So again, if
we could always add on.
Yeah, we will always add on for sure. For anybody listening, thank you for listening. Again, my name is James Ellers. This is the Forward United podcast, and today we had on Jaeson Fuller. Again, you can find Jaeson on Twitter at Freddy, FREDDY VS _ JAESON, and that's on Twitter. So thank you again for being on, Jaeson. Thank you all for listening.
We will appreciate y'all.
Yep, I will see you tomorrow. You're going to be at all the LA stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to be there tomorrow.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you everybody for listening, and we will talk to you guys soon.